Welcome, everybody. Are you stressed? When you get up after sitting for a while, does your body ache? I want you to know you're at the right place at the right time. We're going to meet Martin, the health coach, right after this. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
Working on coping with the inputs that life is throwing at me. And you?
I'm working on dealing with the effects of the inputs that life throws at me.
All right, Mr. Master. There really are two methods, right? The yogi will work on reducing his life into total simplicity, where there's really hardly anything happening. He leaves life, he goes into the mountains, sits in a cave, just reduces inputs to nothing.
Right. I don't think people really talk too much about this inputs and outputs, and I really like that you brought it up. This was what we were discussing, by the way, before we went on the air. And the output, of course, is like, do you react angrily? Do you act calmly? Do you fix whatever it is? Or do you get sad, right? Because you have these inputs, and then how do you react to the inputs? And Martin talked about the yogi, reducing the inputs. And I thought that's a boring life. And of course, sitting in a cave doing nothing, which sounds boring to me. And, but then the other side of it is, if you have an exciting life, do you have too many inputs coming in and you can't handle it?
Yeah. That the sciencey way of talking about is stimulus and response, right? The triggers and the consequences. Are you triggered by when somebody walks by you smoking a cigarette? Are you triggered by walking in and smelling some cologne and perfume? Are you triggered by a noise, flashing lights, whatever, right? When you can't handle stuff, it's a sign that you are hair trigger ready to go off like a cocktail.
And under stress.
Right. Well, the stress is a name for stuff that happens outside of us, right? Those are the inputs. The reaction is inflammation.
Okay. And before we get into that, you just reminded me of a story like 20 years ago. It's a Saturday morning. I'm with my girlfriend. The phone rings. I have no clue. I mean, it's a landline, right? No cell phone around, right? I have no clue who it is. And I pick up the phone and I go, Patton Residence, how may I direct your call? Can I speak to blah, blah, blah? Oh, sure. I hand the phone to her. She holds the phone like way out like this because the woman on the other end is screaming at her. They're best friends, okay? And her job is teaching people how to answer the phone. And what she hates more than anything else in the world is how I answered the phone.
You triggered the heck out of her.
I triggered the heck out of her. And my girlfriend's going, he didn't know it was you. He never answers the phone like that. Would you just relax?
Yeah, you essentially were the messenger from the universe to this woman, right? Like you were inspired in that moment by what?
I've never answered the phone like that.
Some consciousness entered you and inspired you to do this goofy thing, and you just totally stepped on her toe, right?
Yeah.
So I guess for her, the lesson should have been, you must learn not to care.
Really, nobody was going to die. The planet wasn't going to explode, right? Yeah. Her kids are all fine. Yeah. This was really not an important thing. Like oftentimes I build websites and do things like that, right? And people talk to me about different things and I say, whoa, this is not brain surgery. People are not going to die if the website doesn't go up, in 2 minutes. Like, just relax. It's not like you have millions of people coming to your website and it's down or anything like that. Like, people tend to really focus too much on the small thing, which brings it into a huge thing, right? Yeah. It's like my hand, right? Right here, it's no big deal. But when it's like this, it's a big problem, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm remembering, Scott, a fellow that I worked with 25 years ago, and he had two sayings. One is this the hill we're prepared to die on? And are you prepared to go all the way? As in, will you go nuclear? Right? Because when you start a conflict, there's going to be tit for tat.
Yeah, a
Like,
winner and a loser.
well, when
Or two losers.
when we start a conflict, I will attack you, you will match mine and escalate. I will
Right,
match yours and escalate. And before you know it, we're going nuclear.
right,
And so in a business situation, it's like, I'm going to do something that's going to upset you. Like, for example, steal a customer from you.
right,
I know I'm breaking some ethics. That's going to cost me. Am
right.
I prepared for the consequences? Am I really willing to go there?
Yeah. That's
Right?
a really good thing to think about too. Like before we do anything, like do we think about what the consequences could be or will be and how far do we want to go, right? And
Right.
sometimes it's like we should be going further and we're backing off way too soon,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It
Yes.
goes both ways. There's not a this is the right level, right? You
Yeah.
got to find that,
Important topic, boundaries. Right.
right?
Many people are really bad at setting their personal boundaries and end up being abused for it.
Right.
And that's a source of stress, being in relationships that are out of balance.
Right. Which, by the way, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about inflammation probably for the next few weeks and stress because there's just so much to it. And how how to identify stress is what we really wanted to talk about today. Because oftentimes people, I know for me, I didn't know when I was under a lot of stress, right? Like there was a time I ran grocery stores and my jaw was so sore because I was clenching. So I go to the dentist. He says, here's a plastic thing, stick it in at night and you'll stop clenching. Well, that was really unpleasant, right? It's not, they were just dealing with.
But just allow me to interrupt. That's the classic modern medical response.
Right.
Not dealing with the cause, not dealing with the root cause of the problem, instead just offering a band-aid solution.
Right. To the point like where there was no discussion about, well, maybe you're stressed out, or I never thought I was stressed out, right? I just thought I had sore jaw. And it wasn't until I quit that and I got out of that stressful situation and my jaw stopped. It's 20 years. My jaw like once has been sore because I was clenching,
Yeah.
and and it's like, oh, like the easy thing would be to just deal with the stress somehow as opposed to, because what's going to happen? Like there's an outlet for the stress in my jaw. It's either going to get worse and worse and worse, and my teeth are going to grind down to nothing. And I won't be able to eat, and then I'll die. Or it'll show up in my heart, or in my veins, or in my brain, or my blood
Right.
pressure, or somewhere, some other place, and then my health is gone.
So let's do a short list of sort of things that people will notice about themselves that are telling them that they are actually living under stress and not coping. It's the not coping part, right? Stress is what happens. It's
Right.
the consequence of what you do with it that matters. Like, I could be walking through hell singing a happy song
Right.
when I know that this hell is going to end, right? Like most of us are perfectly capable of coping with a very unpleasant situation, provided we know that there is an end to it and that we are going to restore some balance.
Right.
Right?
There's a great story about a woman who was swimming the English Channel. And of course, she's swimming it, and there's a boat beside her, in case she gets into trouble and freezes or something. And it is foggy, foggy, foggy. And she's swimming and she's swimming and she's swimming. And nobody can see the end of the water, right? So finally, she just says, I give up. I can't go any further. And it was like, 20 feet, 100 feet, like well within her
3 minutes
capability.
from the end, right?
Right, 3 minutes from the end, and she just gave up because she didn't know that it was going to end.
Yeah.
She saw no end, I guess, is the point I was making.
Yeah, and this is how oppression breaks the victim, right? Like there are two two coping strategies: fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Well, I guess I
Right.
named four of them. Well, so the flight is if you find yourself in a situation that's overwhelming and you know it's bigger than you can handle, you can get the heck away. Get away from it.
Right.
And the classic response would be, let's sweep the issue under the carpet. Right?
Or the other response is you stop, you get down, you put your shoes on. Your friend's saying, why are you putting your running shoes on? That bear is going to outrun you no matter how fast you run. And you say, I don't have to outrun the bear.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so that's the flight. Get away from the whatever's irritating. Remove
Right.
yourself from the situation if you can. Now, if you find yourself cornered,
Now you have to fight. Right.
You have to, well, you have a choice. You can fight.
Yeah. Or you can just sit there.
The other choice is fawn, which is you fold.
Right.
And the last choice is so much panic you freeze. You just can't even think of doing anything. And this happens to a lot of people when attacked, right? Like
Right.
in a physical assault situation, people at some point give up if they find themselves overwhelmed by the aggressive
situation. Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the inputs, right? So you just named a thing called clenching the teeth, right?
Right.
That's one. What are the other things that people end up doing? Chewing their fingernails,
Yeah.
not coping with stress, showing it in that direction.
Pulling your hair.
Pulling your hair. There's a really cool word for it.
Trichotillomania.
Yeah. We have a Greek-Latin combo for everything.
Yes.
There probably is a Greek-Latin word for chewing your nails. I just don't know it.
Right.
Okay.
Shifting, like moving stuff.
Well, that's physiology. Fidgeting, yeah. Poking your face, right? Like just scratching, can't stand this, pulling, whatever. Those are all signs of stress that's being expressed in a destructive way.
Right.
So meditate, right? That's one of the coolest ways of the universe, is just focusing on the breath, being in the now. Stress is one of those things where you're either too far in the past or too far in the future, right? Like you just gave the wonderful example as this woman saw the future as hopeless and gave up.
Right.
Right. If you're in the future rather than in the now, you're imagining things in your head that are not what's true because you don't have data. You're just speculating.
And she was speculating that it was another 2 miles to the shore.
Right.
As opposed to just thinking, I just need to take one more.
Being in the now.
Being in the now.
Yeah. Staying present. I don't care. I know the channel is only 42 kilometers, 26 miles.
It ends at some point. I don't know where.
We know the cliffs of Dover are there despite the fog.
Right.
Right. Which is what we need. What we need in our life is a solid location, something. Fulcrum, Archimedes. Give me a fulcrum, I can move anything, right?
Right.
Okay, so that would be a strategy to try and cope with it, right? Strategy to cope with stress is, and there are two types of people, right? One people's consciousness is always staying too far forward in the future, imagining the horrible things that will happen. Another type of a person dwells in the past, reliving the regrets,
failures, things that they wish they'd have done differently.
Or things they wish they did do, or things they wish they didn't do. Yeah.
Right.
But being in the past, rather than saying, it did happen, I recognize it, and I learned from it, and the next time anything of that sort comes my way, I will be wiser.
So that's an aspect of self-talk, isn't it? Like
Absolutely.
we can say, you know what, I mean, it takes a lot of learning who you are, looking inward and seeing how you are. But it seems to me that if you said, you know what, I'm saying, like one of my friends years ago said to me, man, if you treated your friends the way you treat you, you'd have no friends.
That's a very wise thing. And I just described it, right? Beating yourself up and telling yourself what a horrible person you are. If you ever did that, then, oh my gosh.
Right. And we would never do that to our pets. We would never do that, hopefully, to our children.
And yet we do it to ourselves. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, so beautifully discovered and declared. Yeah.
Once you know what your self-talk is like, then you got to sit. I think what you have to do is sit down and like get a pen and paper and write out what you want it to be. Because I know me, I would say, okay, I won't talk to myself like that anymore. And then immediately be talking to myself like that anymore. Like you need to interrupt that whole pattern.
This is a really important thing you just did, which is consciousness is the talk, subconscious is the interpretation of it. And in the subconscious, the negative, as in not that, does not exist. I would like you to focus on not imagining a little red Honda Civic.
Right.
There's no going there, right? You cannot imagine of not being a non-smoker. Non-smoker isn't a person, right?
Right.
You need to be a sweet-smelling, healthy boy with lungs clear as sheet, right? Like you need to build something completely different. Anyway, the languaging of that is really important. And it's a skill that needs to be learned.
Right. Yeah, it needs to be learned. It needs to be practiced. It's not something we're going to be doing, immediately overnight.
Right.
And we need to be gentle with ourselves as we learn these new skills.
Right. So self-talk. I am strong. I am creative. I easily earn daily income. I don't know, language like that.
Yeah. My heart is strong. My veins are clear.
Yeah.
Of junk.
Good point. Right.
They're full of blood.
So we were going to talk about inflammation.
And stress.
Well, stress is the input. The inflammation is the response.
So what you're saying is if you're under stress, and everybody in the world is, so let's say under too much stress, your body is going to respond over time with being in a state of inflammation.
Yeah. And there is a good stress and bad stress. Like good stress is when you exercise, when you lift weights, you are in fact exercising your muscles and you will strengthen the muscles. And that's required because if you give up stress like that, you will actually don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
So you will become a dish rag that can't lift any weight if you don't lift any weights.
Yep.
So you must put yourself under stress all the time.
So we're not looking for a stress-free life. We're looking for the correct type of stress to give us a healthy life.
With which we can cope.
With which we can cope, right?
So inflammation, for example, is the body's response to overexertion. You will hurt in your muscles after you overexercise. It's a good thing. Your body is mounting the response, which is this. Redness, swelling, heat, pain, loss of function. Those are the 5 symptoms of inflammation. They're immutable. They're always there. So if you twist your ankle, you will experience swelling, redness, heat, pain, and loss of function. Can't walk on it.
Can't walk. That's right.
So that's good because that's how you heal. It will take 10 days or whatever your body will allow, and then you'll be back to walking on that ankle.
But the problem in today's world is we don't heal.
Well, the chronic stress that is stimulating or not stimulating, arriving, like, for example, food stress, if you happen to be eating the wheat that has been laced with glyphosate and has been genetically twisted into having too much gluten in it, you will end up damaging your gut eating that sort of wheat, and then you will be causing a chronic inflammatory response in your gut. And that's horrible. Your belly will swell. You will be packing around this big swollen belly because heat and redness, you can't see it. It's on the inside, but the swelling you will see, the pain you will experience, and the loss of function will be ongoing.
Right.
You will have IBS, or you will be forgetful. You won't be able to think your way out of a 3-pound paper bag.
So this inflammation can appear in different parts of our bodies.
And that's the worst of it. When we damage our gut, because it's so important, it will reflect into every part of your body. Your nervous system, your digestive, elimination, I don't know, no need to name it all, right? For example, the molecule called histamine is the signaling molecule for the inflammatory response. So we have this concept called histamine-mediated responses. Well, we have a phone call, interruptions. And the histamine can signal problems in the reproductive system, like a woman can have PMS or swelling or dysmenorrhea or whatever. It will be in the digestive system. You will eat and you will have a nervous stomach. You'll be throwing up or not digesting well. It will be sitting in your stomach, just whatever. I couldn't start naming every possible body system to tell you that stress has these.
Yeah. So what you're really saying is that when we have stress, we have too much stress, it'll appear differently in different people, even though the core cause is the same.
The core cause is not coping with the input.
Right.
Right. You're not walking through hell singing.
Yeah. So you're stressed out, and it might show up as headaches. It might show up as irritable bowel syndrome. It might show up as sore knees, back pain. All those are different things.
Yeah.
So
whatever symptom you are having, the secondary cause of it is stress and you not coping with it. The primary cause of it is whatever the stressor is.
Right. So you have those two things. So we spent the last 22, 23 minutes talking about all the sad things. Is there good news? Like, okay, I got all this stress in my life. Do I have to go to a cave in the mountains, or do I have to, meditate 8 hours a day? Or like, what can I do to relieve some of this stress so my body can heal itself?
Well, definitely meditate every day for a while. I'm not going to dictate, but 20 minutes is a good thing.
That was what I was thinking of saying, 20 minutes.
As far as food inputs, you definitely need to control that. If your body is reacting to stuff, you need to not do that.
So we talked about that last night. Martin and I, we got together, we were chatting about a bunch of different things, and I said something about something, I forget what it was, and he said, the word that I think I dislike the most in the universe, journal. He says, write down what you eat every day, and then reflect. If you feel good, and then if tomorrow you've got aches and pains, can barely move your backs, then look at what you ate the day before, and then just keep watching for a pattern. And sure enough, it'll be, you had 3 peanuts and then your back went out. Is that you or me?
It's in my house. There's a journeyman over there in the hallway testing our fire alarm.
Oh, I see. Oh, perfect. Inflammation. We have fire alarms going off.
Yep. But all that, right? Had that stupid thing stayed on, eep, eep, eep,
that would have been very stressful.
I mean, give me 5 minutes of that, and I'm ready to slit my wrists.
Yeah, or kill the journeyman.
Well, if that were the case, yeah. Yeah.
So getting back to what we were talking about, journaling, so here's the, to me, a more important question. How can you set up your life or your schedule so that it's easy for you to journal? That was the question, because I don't want to journal, right? But I understand I should journal. It's not whether I want to or not. Do I want to have a healthy life? Yeah. Well, part of that is listening to the fire alarm when it goes off and journaling. So I thought, I use my calendar all of the time. So I'm going to make a daily entry in my calendar. It's just going to say, what did you eat? And then as I'm working or whatever, and I sit down and I've come back for lunch, I'm going to say, this is what I ate. And this is how I feel. And then I'm going to be able to go back each day, right? And say, okay, this is why, yesterday I had 3 peanuts and today my back is sore and whatever. I mean, I have days where between my shoulder blades, there's 2, whatever they call that in the spine, that are sore. It's like a dull, numb type of pain. It's not like a needle. It's a dust, but really irritating. And it's there sometimes and not others. And I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe when I have sushi, that's when that happens. And if I know that, then I can decide, do I want to have pain tomorrow and eat sushi today? Or do I want to not have pain tomorrow and I'll eat something else today?
Yep. So one of the easy ways of food journaling is to take a picture of it. In the day of mobile phones, you should theoretically be able to take a picture of what you ate, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever you do. And then you're able to go back to it if you're disciplined enough to just file it in a folder.
Right. That's an easy way to do it too.
Yeah. Well, how much more should we talk about?
So one of the things, and I've meant to say this at the beginning, everybody, you can leave a comment or a question. So when we plan to go about a half an hour, and then afterwards, for as long as you've got questions, we'll answer them live on the air as we're going. So we're up 27 minutes. So if you've got any questions.
Did anybody ask anything yet?
Nothing yet. No.
Okay.
So be first. Even say hi, hello, where you're from. We'd love to know. And we're planning on doing this every week. And the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking more about stress and inflammation and what you can do, and some practical applications. Hopefully you found today fairly practical as well.
Yeah, I can promise you that you will learn something, because Scott and I, as you can see, have lived for quite some time and have had good amount of bumps with life. And
that's right.
Done good amount of self-reflection and learning and
healing.
And healing. Both of us were broken, seriously broken.
Yeah.
Brushes with leaving early, both of us. And so we have something to offer. Don't underestimate the wisdom of the elder.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so getting back to the inflammation and stress. What would you say to somebody who's in a stressful job, doesn't want to leave the job? Okay, so it's paying them a lot of money to live in a stressful situation. Would you okay, I'm in a really stressful.
You must create some plan that has you understand that you have control. So, for example, you can say to yourself, I will work this for 1 more year, or
yes,
I will work this until I have saved $20,000, or whatever the heck it is for you that you can set as a timeline. So that I'll put up with this until, and then I can reevaluate. Or, I don't know if the stress is controllable. If you have some control over what the inputs are, then focus on something you can change.
Well, and you said, there are good stressors, right? Like when you exercise. And so what I was thinking was, so I'm assuming you're not living hand to mouth, like every penny is going into your mortgage and your food bill. You have some money you can spend that you're not spending. Then go to the gym. Or what went through my mind was, because like the picture in my mind is I get up early, I drive to work for an hour, I do my work, I come home, I'm exhausted, I got to clean the dishes, I got to feed the kids, I got to do this, I got to do all these things. And I'm thinking, hire somebody to do the lawn, hire somebody to vacuum the house, hire somebody to do all these, so that you've got that time where you can just relax.
Yeah, if you have the means to buy time by hiring somebody to do something you don't have to do, that's awesome, because exercise is wonderful. When you stress your body, you're producing adrenaline, and in the process of that, it creates the echo that will burn off the cortisol that you have built up in the process of being stressed. Like when you're stressed, the cortisol level goes up and up. You're just pushing your adrenals to make more of it.
Cool. Well, we do have some comments. Hi, Greta. Okay. Nice to see you.
Oh,
hello
hi,
from Toronto. Any tips for someone in their 60s who has passed a heart attack a couple of years ago?
Okay, I will answer that in just a sec. Okay. So I just wanted to say, on the stress side, we have a tincture created by Elijah Free. The tincture is called Cortisol Ease. So if you find yourself at the end of your day just completely tired but wired, unable to shut it down, go for Cortisol Ease. And this same guy, Elijah Free, the brand is Earth Friend Herbs, has come up with a tincture called Heart Ease. Just the word heart, Heart -EASE. Heart Ease is the tincture with which, or when you take that, you will be stimulating your body to rebuild your heart muscle. People, even with a noticeable amount of damage to their heart muscle, have come back with restored function, restored tissue. So go with that. That's one of the best.
Awesome. All right. And I followed up with, it's a great topic you're
treating. Yes.
Talking about. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Heart, right? Heart stress. I mean, the heart is the seat of the emotion, right? The emotion mainly of gratitude and love and unforgiveness if you harbor the resentment.
Right.
And it's terrible if you allow it to eat you alive. Whoa. Scott's alarm just went off.
I'm muted just in case they bark some more.
Oh, that's too funny. We're living a life. And so there we are.
There's the link in the comment section for the Cordelease. Should have put a space there.
Yeah, I should have. Maybe put a new line on it. Anyway, look after your heart by appreciating, that self-talk that we talked about a moment ago. The self-talk is really important because you will show the kindness to yourself, show some gratitude to, the heart. It will beat 100,000 times on a typical day. It's unbelievable the amount of work this little thing does.
We want to make sure it never stops.
Well, the never is hard. We all have an expiration date.
We have one more comment that's from Ava, just joined, which I would know this live on time.
Okay, Scott, do we save it?
We do. So where you're seeing, when it's all done, wherever you are, we'll do whatever it's doing, and it'll be available wherever you are, so you can watch the replay. And we're going to be 3:30 every Thursday Eastern time, and that's is that right? 3:30?
No, you're wrong.
2:30. See, this is why we don't.
2:30 Eastern if you're on the daylight savings, because there are countries like Scott who are on Eastern time zone but do not practice the idiotic daytime shift. So anyway, if it's in America, it's 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific,
Pacific.
and the others in between.
And it was really weird because I thought, well, I'll be really productive. I'll make an event on Facebook. And I did that. And then Facebook couldn't figure out what time it was. And I think it's because they look at my time. And it was like, maybe I'm shadow banned. Maybe that would not be surprising.
Oh, no. That they wouldn't do that to your clock. They will do that to your postings.
Right. No, they won't shadow ban my clock, but I sometimes wonder if they know what time it is. Thank you, Eve. I would look forward to having you join us next time too.
Anyway, so you can come back. You can ask now. We'll answer it in a week or whatever.
That's right. Yeah, we monitor all the comments. So if there's any comments, we'll make sure we deal with them next week. So it's going to be a half an hour talking about health. And then after that, we're going to have what we call an after party, and we'll answer any questions, sit around and just sort of chat about whatever you want to chat about.
Okay. But if there's not anything going on, we'll just close it up.
So thanks for joining us, everybody. We look forward to having you next time. Bye for now.